Hello guys, Weeb Story here, and this is a very good old anime. The anime is named Charlotte. Yuu Otosaka is the main protagonist in this anime. He is a first-year transfer student at Hashinomi Academy who has the ability to possess the body for 5 seconds, but Yuu's real ability is not just possessing the body, he can taking the ability of other people he has possessed and making that power his own. The story begins when Yuu Otosaka uses his power to possess people's bodies. In order to optimize his special abilities, he possesses one by one the smartest students in school and then cheats on their answers during exams. This makes him get the highest score and become the first rank in his school. Yuu was accepted into one of the elite schools. He also got the highest rank during the entrance exam. At the school, he was getting approached by a girl, but Yuu was not interested in this girl because he had intended to get close to the most popular female student. Yuu intentionally controlled the truck driver to almost hit Yum Shiranagi, so he pretended to come to her rescue, but after succeeding in making Yum get close with him, Yuu got into trouble because someone found out that he cheated on the exam. This caused him to panic and leave them. Yuu was chased by students who used teleportation abilities and was told that there were many teenagers with special abilities besides him, but that ability was considered a disease that would disappear. He was ordered to change schools so that he wouldn't abuse his powers anymore. Yuu Otosaka started his first day at Hashinomi Academy. Nao told him that in the past teenagers with powers like them were captured and used as guinea pigs. The student council at Hashinomi Academy is the only organization that is trusted to carry out a special mission by teaching anyone not to abuse their abilities. Because he was used to using his abilities, Yuu was recruited to be part of the student council. Then they stopped the abuse of power in various places. After their work was done, Nao said that this should be done so that no one would have the same fate as her brother, at which point Nao told him about her brother being the first owner of special abilities. It started when Nao passed the entrance exam to her dream school. Unlike her nerd brother who spent his time to playing guitar, he planned to sign a contract with a record label. But after various things happened, in the end Nao could not enter her dream school and her brother also did not join the record label. They were both transferred to the same school but never spent time together because her brother was being used as a guinea pig by scientists. In the end, Nao ran away from the school, and until now her brother is treated for mental disorders. Ayumi Otosaka is a junior high school student and also Yuu's younger sister. Ayumi always made lunch for her brother, but her brother always looks unhappy when he gets lunch from her. He prefers to buy food at the school canteen. After finishing his food, Nao called him because there was already information about another ability user. Their target this time had 2 special abilities: the summoning ability and the ability to control fire. The 3 of them rushed to investigate. After investigated, it turned out that the user of the ability was a famous idol. Meanwhile, when they met with Yusa Nishimori, they were told the ability she had. It turned out that there was another soul who possessed Yusa named Misa, who could possess and control the body of her younger sister. When her sister's body was taken over, she was able to use fire control powers, so it wouldn't be surprising if Yuzurin suddenly turned into like her older sister. Now Yuzurin was in trouble because she accidentally took a producer's cell phone. She also read a secret message that shouldn't have been read. Misa couldn't leave it at that. To help Yuzurin, Misa planned to explode and intimidate them with her ability, so that the producer would be scared and could no longer bother her. After Misa helped Yuzurin solve her problem, Yuzurin transferred to the Hashinomi Academy. All students looks happy because they can be in the same class with an idol, but Yuu looks troubled and Nao also doesn't care too much about it. When Yuzurin is mobbed by students, Nao takes her away to the student council room. Then they get new information about other ability users. The area they will visit this time is in Kanai Academy. There is a student with the ability to control an object. Nao warned that the person no longer uses his powers, but he did not want to obey her. Then Nao decided to fight him with a baseball match. The baseball match between the Naomi Student Council and Kanai team has begun. When it was on the edge, Nao decided to play using her special ability. Yuu possessed the opposing team and then controlled his body so as not to get points, but the opposing team continued to lead the game. To secure their position, Jujiro used his teleportation ability, but because he was get serious injured, Jujiro was replaced by the reserve team, while the others tried to play as best they could. Despite losing the match, the ability user refused to comply. So Naomi had to experiment by having Yuu possess his body. At different time, the 4 student council members deal with user who can fly. They decide to camp in the mountains where the teenager is practicing controlling his ability. While at the supermarket, Yuu and Naomi look very close, even Userin thinks they are dating. After finishing preparing the supplies, the 4 of them went straight to the mountain area. The boys were tasked with setting up the tents and the girls prepared to cooking. At night, they take turns patrolling. Yuu accompanied Nao, who was listening to music alone. Nao looked happy because Yuu understood the meaning of the music she was listening to. Because she already had money to buy a new one, Nao intended to give the music player to Yuu.
Otosaka-san, 私たちの番ですよ.
As long as the target has not been found, the camp will be continue. When they were visited by the teenager, Nao lied to him by saying that she would stay in that place forever. Then he continues his flying training, although he did not confess at first, but it seems that Nao managed to trap him into using her powers. That's when you possessed his body so that their task was completed. In the same day, all student council members could go home and come back to school. After arriving at home, Yuu was greeted by his sister. When they had dinner, it turned out that her sister had a fever. Yuu told Ayumi not to go to school. Then when the student council gathered, they also got a new assignment, which was to deal with the user of the ability that could collapse something. Because the location was right in the academy apartment, Ayumi is suspected as the owner of the ability. They decide to visit Ayumi to see if she has that ability. Yuu allowed Nao and Userin to see Ayumi, while Jujiro was left out so as not to spoil the mood. After dinner together, Yuu gave Ayumi medicine. Then Ayumi said she had a scary dream. Nao said nightmares when fever is a common thing, but Nao's suspicion is quite high. Nao asked Yuu to find out about her dream. After being asked, it turns out that she dreamed of seeing the ground cracking and splitting, so the possibility if Ayumi is the owner of the ability to collapse is increasing. Even though her brother had told her not to go to school, Ayumi still goes because she felt better. Yuu and all the student council members rushed to see her, but it was too late. When they arrived at school, Ayumi's power has risen and resulted in her death from the rubble. Yuu felt he had never once repaid his sister's kindness. He never thought that he would be left so soon by her sister. As a result, he gave up and felt reluctant to deal with other people. Since Ayumi died, Yuu had been locked up and never went to school again. But due to an unexpected situation, he decided to move out of his apartment. At first he was just having a boring day. He also became addicted to playing games in the arcade. Because he was so annoying, he got into trouble with the gangsters. He was taken to a quiet place to be taught a lesson, but Yuu fought them off using his powers. After defeating them, another gang of punks came to him. The leader of the gang named Hosu Yamada warned Yuu nicely, but Yuu refused and teasing him. After that Yuu immediately cornered Yamada and made him surrender in front of his fellow. That way Yuu felt the strongest and could not be defeated by anyone. When Yuu almost abused a drug, Nao Tomori came to stop him. With the ability to disappear, it turned out that she was always near to Yuu without anyone knowing. Nao also planned to accompany Yuu until he recovered. After various things happened, Nao managed to invite Yuu come back to school and become active in the student council again. Although he was greeted with a cheerfulness that sometimes annoyed him, this time, Yuu Otosaka was grateful. He felt that he could live his days as before. While Yuu and Jujiro were having lunch, they were called by Nao. But the purpose of gathering this time was not to search for ability users, but to watch Userin's latest music video. Besides that, Nao has 2 tickets to a concert that she likes. She took one of the student council members accompanied her to the concert. Since no one was interested, it was suggested that Yuu go with Nao. After school, Yuu met a strange woman. Apparently the woman he met was the vocalist of Nao's favorite band and also her brother, so he decided to take him to see Nao's brother. And then, miracle happened. Nao's brother, who was mentally disturbed, immediately cured after listening to the singing voice of the woman. She said that his decision at that time was really amazing. She also thanked Yuu as much as possible. The concert that Nao has been waiting for has started. They both came early so as not to run out of concert souvenirs, although they weren't going to buy anything, but now invited you into the long queue. You had been thinking that since when the two of them could get along, even though when they first met they often fought, and always had differences of opinion. While in the queue, you felt familiar with the name of the band that was going to perform. When the concert started, the music performed by the band made him experience trauma. He screamed until he was unconscious. At the same times, you recalls all the things he went through. In a different past, it turns out that teenagers with special abilities have been captured by scientists. By then you had realized his true abilities, and also knew the strongest ability his brother had, which was the ability to go back in the past. So if they want to be free from the scientists, then the only way is to turn back time. Yu seizes various powers to help his brother, so that he can use the power to return to the past. Yu is picked up by a man named Komagami. They will meet Shunsuke, or Yu's brother who has the power to repeat time. Shunsuke tell a long story of time travel. In the past, Shun befriend with Komagami and his other friends. There Shun told the tragic end of the special ability owners. After that, Shun explained about the plan they had made in the future, which was to gather the ability owners and protecting them. After that, they began to form an association of ability owners. But in the end, it was only limited to gathering them and they could not protect anyone. Until finally, Shun came up with an idea of using money to influence adults. With this ability, he could use information to get money. Shun returned to the past many times, so he could no longer return to the past. Because of his sacrifice, they were able to achieve their goal by using a large amount of money to collect ability users and protect them at the Education Foundation. After that, Shun left Yu and Ayumi by erasing their memory using his friend's ability. After telling his past, Shu gave his ability to his brother. Now you can go back in time to save Ayumi's life. After saving Ayumi's life, Komagami and Madoki came to Yu and Ayumi. They took him to the laboratory facility. You already understood how to use the real ability. He became the owner of the greatest ability that can take anyone's ability. And also, he already had the power to travel through time, so it would be very risky to let him live a normal life. Shun decided to let you live in a research facility, because outside there are already many gangs that target owners of abilities like them. The place that you will live in is the facility they founded. In addition to researching the source of their strength, they are also developing medicine, so that the same thing does not happen in the future. The reason is because the power they have is a disease that comes from comet particles that cross the Earth. One day when Komagami and Nao Tomori were taken hostage by terrorists, the terrorists demanded you to come to his place. In order to save them both, Shun gave directions to you to take away all the abilities of the people there. But if you made a mistake, he had to use the ability to go back in time. But the plan didn't work, because the enemy managed to attack his eyes, so that you could no longer go back in time. This resulted in you going on a rampage and destroying all the buildings due to his destructive power. The incident that happened earlier caused you to be unconscious for 2 days. Nao Tomori also managed to survive because she was protected by Komagami. But Komagami himself could not be saved, because at that time he was buried in the rubble of the building. As a close friend, Komagami's death traumatized Shun. His current condition is not much different when Yu was left by Ayumi. To prevent the same thing, Nao Tomori says there's only one way. Since researchers have already started producing the medicine, you can end everything by taking away all the abilities in the world. It sounds simple, but definitely comes with a big risk. After seizing countless abilities, there is the possibility of becoming a person capable of destroying the entire human race. Besides that, no one knows what will happen to his consciousness. However, Nao does not suggest that plan. But Yu instead decided to do it because he was once saved by Nao, so now it's his turn to protect her. At the same time, Yu also expressed his love for Nao, so that his journey would be more meaningful. Yu started by seizing the special abilities of those closest to him, then he traveled around the world just for erase the ability. The first thing he did was to find people who had the power to detect ability and then take away their abilities, so that it would be easier to find other ability users. The ability to detect that he had seized is very useful. Just by looking at the map, he could already know their location clearly. Then Yu explored various places and seizing other ability. At first he could seize the ability without any obstacles, But the more ability he got, the more difficult it was for him to think clearly. He also couldn't remember the reason why he had to seize other people's ability. Yuu almost lost his mind and thought he would rule the world with all his power. But he still carried out his mission. After successfully seizing all the abilities, he was found by those closest to him. When he regained consciousness, he was accompanied by Nao, who was grateful to be able to see him again. But she looked sad because Yuu had lost all memory of her. But yeah, at least they're back together.